I think a lot of these people would do well to read the Gospels and take those parts of the Gospels and actually apply them literally. But they don't. Yeah. They never, ever talk about Jesus' words, because if they did, they couldn't support the policies they are pushing.
Yeah, the least among us, Jesus says, to look out for. And indeed, the hypocrisy here from so many of these people is readily apparent. So, Congressman, the title of the book is, The Fight to Save Democracy from Christian Nationalism. You've just diagnosed the problem. So if there is a fight, how is it won? What are a few things that can be done to stem the tide?
Yeah, it starts by understanding what we're up against. One of the challenges is that in this country, we're not very good at talking about the intersection of religion and politics. We show a lot of deference. Religious liberty is obviously a core value in this country, but it leaves us potentially vulnerable. There's that apocryphal quote that is attributed to Sinclair Lewis: when fascism comes to America, it'll be wrapped in the flag and carrying a cross. And that is exactly why I wanted to write this book. We need a wake-up call. We've got to understand not just the political agenda, but the actual religious beliefs that animate this movement. And then we've got to come together, whether you're a Christian, a non-Christian, or a non-believer, and defend our democracy. There's still time. We can still do it. But this project is much further along than most people realize, and I wanted folks to see what I see and to understand that.
It is Tuesday, 18 August in the year of our Lord 2026. Sean Davis joins us. Natalie be up in a few minutes. Sean, I had to play that again. A Democrat congressman from California has written a new book about the rise and power of Christian nationalism. Sinclair Lewis said, when fascism comes to the United States, it'll be draped in a flag and carrying a cross. Your observations on that, sir?
Well, I mean, it's obviously Looney Tunes. It was fascinating to me to hear Joe Scarborough say, what we really need is to just pick out bits and pieces from the gospel that we agree with and then use those to hit people who have different politics than we do over our head. When Christ is talking about doing unto the least of ours, he's not saying about outsourcing your obligations to the government and then forcibly taking people's money. It's about taking action in your own life with your own money, with your own time to do things, which is, of course, anathema to the left-wing movement in this country that thinks individualism is bad, individual charity is wrong, and government can do everything better. I don't recall anything in the Bible about forcibly taking things from people, taking their property so you can give it to people who don't work. I do recall several verses about those who don't work shouldn't eat.
Sean, I want to go back to your piece. When you say the American dream, what are the two or three things that you believe in a rank order are the things that have destroyed the American dream or access for these younger generations to get access to it? And then I'll ask you for solutions on the other side. But just give me the two or three drivers of the crushing of the American dream.
Yeah, so I think number one is mass immigration, both legal and illegal. We are importing replacement level numbers of immigrants to do jobs that Americans once did. And it's because their governments are subsidizing them to come in, work at below market wages, and box out the American worker. So that's number one. Number two is this insane DEI diversity infrastructure that's been placed throughout government and corporate America that says you got to have rainbow people. If your skin's not the right color, we don't want you. You need to have a certain amount of diversity points to come work here, regardless of your abilities and capabilities. So that's number two. And then number three is the combination of insane overspending by Congress, which necessitates the printing of money, which erodes the value of the dollar, causes asset prices to basically artificially increase to the point where if you can't get a job because you're boxed out either by DEI nonsense or illegal labor, if you're somehow able to get that job, you're not making enough to be able to afford the things that people used to be able to do on one income in this country.
By the way, that's why I keep arguing that the Lakers' $12 billion sale, forget all the problems with the guy that had to sell it, was forced to sell it, but $12 billion is not about just the intrinsic value of the Lakers. That's about the devaluation of the United States dollar or the Federal Reserve note. Sean, I thought all these problems were taken care of. We've sealed the border. We're deporting people. DEI has been crushed both at the corporate level and the government level and all the way down to the state and local level. Over those two, let's talk about those two. Aren't they taken care of?
I don't think they're taken care of yet. So when it comes to immigration, I would liken it to either a home that's been flooded or a boat that's sinking because it's been flooded. It's great that you've plugged the leak, which is what we've done at the border. You still have a whole bunch of water that you got to bail out of the house. You've got to do damage control. You've got to rip out the drywall. You've got to put in new insulation. If your boat's sinking, you got to bail out all that water. Just because we have stopped the flow of illegal immigration in doesn't mean we have eliminated the effect of the tens of millions of illegals that have come in over the last 30 or 40, 50 years. Or when it comes to programs like the J-1 visa or the H-1B visa, we have millions and millions of people who are here now, even if we stop the flow, who are still completely messing up the market we have for labor for Americans. So that's number one. We've done a lot to stop the flow, but we have a whole bunch of stock we've got to get rid of, whether through deportation or denaturalization or what have you. And then with the DEI stuff, it's great that we're starting to shut it down, but we had decades of it wrecking people's lives and careers. We have had one, maybe two full generations of men who have been locked out of the economy. It is hard to look at that and think about, what did we forego? What was the opportunity cost of doing that? How many people were in jobs that were not up to their capabilities and abilities? How many inventions did we lose? How many innovations did we lose? Because kids who should have been going in and doing these amazing things were instead sent to go do jobs that were far, far below their capabilities. So the thing about having a class of politicians in America who have done the things they've done for 30 or 40 or 50 years is that you can't undo them overnight. It takes time, and by the way, time takes patience. And so people need to be patient about it. But if you just go and tell yourself, oh, it's all done, it's all fixed, you haven't actually fixed anything yet. And the left is going to come roaring back. Woke is going to wake right back up, take over things, and destroy them even worse.
Because now the left, this is the point we're trying to make today. The left is not. This is not the liberals of your fathers or grandfathers' generation. I mean, this is a Marxist jihadist, red green. That's the energy in the Democratic Party, the DSA, and the Working Family Party, and many more associated groups. Are you calling for it? Do you think a solution? Are you calling for it? President Trump has sealed the border. There's no question about that. Are you calling though for a moratorium on all these other quote unquote legal immigration scams, sir?
100%. I think we need to do what we did in 1924 after several decades of immigration that overwhelmed the country. It's time to cut the spigot off. It's time to start sending a lot of those visas home. And we need to start building the American economy back for the American worker. America does not exist to make every other nation and every other people on earth rich. America exists to secure the blessings of liberty for our posterity, which is for us Americans and our children and their children's children. So yes, I think we need a long-term immigration moratorium. We need to reset the economy, and we need all our politicians to understand this country exists for the benefit of Americans and no one else. And to the extent that our greatness and our wealth and our prosperity and our power benefits other people, great, that's fine. Rising tide lifts all boats. But the purpose of America is to secure the blessings of liberty for Americans.
Sean Davis, where do people go to get the Federalist, and where do people go to on your social media? You guys are nailing it every day. A half a dozen to a dozen major pieces, I think, and very well thought through, incredibly written and brilliantly edited, sir. So where do folks go?
Well, thank you, sir. They can find us at thefederalist.com. They can find our socials at FDRLST on X, and you can find me on X at Sean M. DAV.
Sean Davis, The Federalist, thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Take care.
Natalie, we've got a great cold open for you. What I would like to do is hold it for the B block because I want people to see its entirety. But this morning, our theme has been, hey, with all the stuff going around the world, what is happening before us is a takedown of the United States internally. And Lincoln warned it about us. Many people have warned it about us. All your research and all your investigative reporting, I think what shocks me, it shows you foreign powers, foreign entities understand we're easy pickings. They basically understand that corporate America, many people in the government, culturally, socially, I got a person I know quite well that said about some of the budget cuts and the research cuts going to major universities. And they've been in meetings where faculty members are saying, hey, we'll just get it from the Chinese Communist Party. The Chinese are paying for research, so we'll just go there. I mean, no thought of the country as an entity, no thought of putting the United States first. Your observations generally and what your research has shown you in your investigative reporting.
Sure. Well, I'm working on publishing a list of names of these Chinese researchers who've gotten millions of dollars from the Pentagon, DARPA, the most prestigious and dangerous programs that your tax dollars are subsidizing. And less than a few years later, they end up at a Chinese Communist Party run laboratory, probably a sanctioned one. And they're doing basically the same exact research, but to benefit the PLA. And part of it is because our elite ruling class, I don't actually think cares about America, right? Obviously, I focus a lot on the ideological compromise of it, the actual blackmail, the kind of more boots on the ground compromise. So, of course, these people will give them what they want. But when you don't understand that America is a country, culture, or civilization worth preserving, then that's how you kind of get these weird, hard to understand logic chains where you're literally exporting military technology to our foremost enemy. Steve, I've been digging in a lot to DSA and some of these more Marxist groups, even the Islamist faction of it too. And I think what's very clear is that this is almost a counter elite, not because they are elitists, but they present sort of a different approach to, I think, maintaining power in the United States. The elite that we're more used to dealing with, right, is the establishment, right? It's an older thing where they are just content with the status quo, which is sort of American decline, right? But that happens passively and they're profiting off of it, right? Think people like Joe Biden. This stripe of elite, the DSA crowd, the Marxist crowd, they are more, I think, much more, and I've gotten a list of dozens of quotes that I hope we can read after we play my very triggering cold opening to really show you what DSA is. The old guard elite is okay using the means to an end. The end is just the status quo. Americans are subjugated, controlled, and surveilled. This crowd wants to destroy America, bring about revolution, and foment what can only be described as a communist state. They're quite explicit about it. And of course, Steve, Republicans are missing the mark, not just on messaging, but in how they're dealing with them. I was just listening to a podcast, I have the clip, we're about to play it, where one of the leaders of DSA is explaining how all this talk about how they're going to come in and pay your rent and make life easier for you, well, they actually don't believe in the nuclear family or home ownership. Quote, that's not the goal of us socialists. What they actually want to bring about is a form of social housing whereby there's no such thing as private property. So yeah, you don't have to pay rent, but that's because you live in a government-sanctioned housing facility that you can never own and you're not paying because you don't even have access to capital. So I really wish Republicans were, to be blunt, like higher IQ and not taking this stuff at face value. No. And yes, Steve,
they didn't take it. Listen, the fair and balanced, the fair and balanced crowd was controlled opposition. We're in this place not just because the radicalness of the Democratic Party. It was always there for everybody to see. What Pelosi and these people with the DSA, kind of their junior partners rising, it was always there. They didn't want to fight it. Right, because they're afraid they're going to be called nativists. They're afraid they're going to be called xenophobic. They're afraid they're going to be called Christian nationalists. They're afraid they're going to be called haters, right? That's why they wilted. That's why they didn't have the political will or the guts or the fortitude to say, no, this is not going to happen on our watch. And that's why we're in this moment. Are we going to meet this moment or not? Now, let's take a short commercial break. Natalie's going to have a cold open on the other side. Then we'll bring her back in. But she's got some pretty explosive videos that strips the happy clappy veneer. Or this ain't Mandami skipping around a grocery store saying, "Oh, we're going to lower the prices for you." This is when you take the mask off, just like that victory speech you gave that night. We see the real terror and back of it. Patriot Mobile 972 Patriot. Call right now. Talk to somebody with an East Texas accent. If you feel like saying a prayer together, they're open for it. It's a highly religious Christian company supporting Christian values. Also happens to be the best phone service in the United States of America. 972 Patriot. Jenny and Glenn Story, two of the great fighters supporting causes that you believe in. Short commercial break, cold open, Natalie Winters on the other side.
Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Before I get to the cold open for Natalie, I want to get Michael Kunzrup because it's a special, 25% off. Michael, you can't get medical freedom. You can't take charge of your own health until you've taken charge of you've taken at least some power away, not simply from big pharma, but from the big drugstore combines and from the big pharma distribution apparatus. How does All Family Pharmacy do that? How do you help this audience get their medical freedom?
We simply designed a website where you can just place an order for the medications that you currently take or medications that you're currently looking for, something you'd like to stock away for flu season, antibiotics, Tamiflu, ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine. Maybe you're looking at one of the off-label treatments for cancer, where you're looking at the ivermectin, mebendazoles of the world, where it's a cheaper alternative treatment. We give you quick, easy, convenient access to our website. You can call us over the phone, place that order directly online. It'll go directly to a physician, a doctor who's licensed in your state to prescribe, as they will prescribe appropriately to you. Send us a prescription. We'll ship it out as soon as possible. Traditionally, our orders get out within 1 to 3 days, sometimes 4 days. We're the quickest on the market. We're the fastest. And we're just trying to make things as convenient as possible for the American people, right? It's their medical freedom and they deserve it. So we try to make things as convenient as possible.
Yeah. It's convenient. You got access to everything, 25% off, so you understand it. Most importantly, because I think there's a little bit of confusion, you have a licensed medical person and or a pharmacist that's licensed in whatever state you're in to work with you, correct?
Yeah. So we have doctors licensed in every state. Our pharmacist, our head pharmacist is licensed in just about every state. We could ship, throughout the United States. Whether it's a GLP-1, it's a weight loss drug, biohacking like NAD+, or it's ivermectin, or it's just a thyroid or blood pressure or statin. You want a 90-day supply? $25. Thyroid, same thing. Synthroid, $25 for a 90-day supply. So it's easy, it's convenient, and it's stress-free. We try to do that so we can help the American people. This 25% off coupon, which is Bannon 25, will save 25% off your entire order, whether it's a biohacking item, a weight loss drug, ivermectin, mebendazole, or it's just your generic medications. It's a blood thinner, a statin, cholesterol, whatever the case may be. We have it over almost 500 different medications on the website. We do custom compounding, creams, gels, stuff for your hair, stuff for your skin. Peptides we offer at aminosupport.com. We have FDA approved ones at All Family Pharmacy. And our newest product is the ivermectin tablets. We do low dose tablets. I love these. I sent this over to Dr. William Mackis, one of the pioneers for cancer research. He loves them. We use it for longevity, for wellness, for prevention, pediatric dosing, veterinarian dosing, whatever the case may be. We have 4 milligram ivermectin tablets. They're 75 cents a tablet. You can also use the coupon and get 25% off. So it's a great time to pick up a low-dose ivermectin tablet. We also have 12 milligrams, 36. You name it, we've got it. It's over 500 medications.
One more time, where do they go to get and how do they get the 25% discount?
allfamilypharmacy.com/Bannon. The coupon code is Bannon25. That's one word, Bannon25. And as always, you can call us 561-717-6794. We have tons of customer service and pharmacy technicians available to answer the calls. We have pharmacists assisting them with their questions and needs. So if you're looking for a drug and you want to try it out, give us a call and we'll walk you through the process.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Let's hit that today. Thanks. 25% off. You get your full medical freedom. Thank you. You can't do it without having a pharmacist you can talk to. Let's play the cold open and bring in Natalie.
Not just abolish, but we must prosecute ICE and end all immigration detention and deportations. Some politicians may pay lip service to these demands, but they're also not enough. We must demilitarize the border and guarantee the right of freedom of movement for migrant workers. We have to grant immediate amnesty for immigrants regardless of immigration status and grant universal suffrage by extending the right to vote for every resident of this country, regardless of citizenship or status. In the halls of power, they'll try to intimidate us, they'll spend millions to try to get rid of us, and maybe they'll even try to throw us in prison. But we must run candidates for office who are unafraid to champion these rights, to show the capitalist class that we will fight them on any terrain, regardless and without fear. If you're interested in fighting for these freedoms at the ballot box by running socialists for office like Eugene Debs, join us in DSA or honestly any of the other organizations here today doing work on so many other important fronts, labor, immigration justice, direct action, whatever it might be. We have to get organized. Yeah. Now, you can help. Together we can fight to abolish ICE and win a world that's safe for everyone so that the next immigrants from Punjab or Mexico or Colombia can move to Maine, Houston or Seattle, papers or not, and live a life of safety and dignity. Thank you, comrades. Solidarity.
And across all of these different sites of struggle, we try to push socialism into the masses of America. We try to build up a positive vision, and I think China is an incredible positive vision of socialism for everyone around the world, whether it's here or overseas in many other countries, many other continents. Happy to talk after.
Goal. So the two things that we're famous for is our commitment to a program and our hatred of the United States Constitution. And what the program does is it gives us a roadmap to revolution, and it gives us the obstacle that we finally will have to get over to have a revolution, which is the United States Constitution, the basis of the United States government. And what the minimum maximum program specifically, what that format specifically gives us is that roadmap. It gives us the minimum circumstances under which we would be able to take power and govern. And it gives us the maximum program, which is the goals that we're actually aiming for. It also clarifies democracy as both the end goal and as part of the process to get there ensures the internal party democracy that we want to see in DSA. So it really wraps up the revolutionary tradition of democracy that I think socialism and abolitionism in the United States have always been a part of, and aims at a future that we can live in as a human species. Because I think absent a revolutionary democratic socialist republic in North America, we may not have a livable future.
We had 24/7 watch of the Whipple building. That's where ICE was located out of. So like anytime ICE was like leaving, we knew like how many cars they had. If they were leaving, we would trail them and then pass it off to the next neighborhood. So like, there'd be people at the Whipple building, they'd follow them, and then they would hit the dispatch up in the next neighborhood, and they would take it from there. But yeah, I mean, like the roles are pretty much like rolling around. There's like roving patrol. So like you get in your car, drive around, look for ICE, follow ICE. Rapid responses is the majority of people. If there's a verified ICE presence in your neighborhood, people will get out by like the dozens and just like, whistle and make it hard for ICE to actually make the arrests. And then the most important, I think, is like dispatch. So like in order to make all that stuff work, you do need like trained and vetted dispatch folks to be able to kind of like monitor like what the patrollers are doing and be able to call people for backup. All of that, took us some practice and stuff, but I think we honed our craft in, and yeah, ready to share any of that with you.
I think something that you brought up too about how, home ownership versus renting, a lot of why we're not seeing any protections around tenants is that it is really seen as just a temporary living situation. The end goal for a lot of people is to eventually own a home. We think about the nuclear family type model that's always championed in the US. And that's not really the goal of us as socialists. So it's not about, building up towards home ownership. It's about building up towards this form of social housing that we talk about in Housing Justice Commission.
Of all the major caucuses, we're the ones most likely to critically but openly engage with what we'd call actual existing socialism. So other socialist projects around the world, we're not going to come at them with, Cuba's wrong. Everything they do is wrong. They're not real socialists, which is a thing that some people say, and that's fine. They're certainly allowed to do that. We would debate that and say, Cuba's mostly good. We should see what we can learn from them. Nobody's perfectly good. We would never frame anything like that. Heavy on dialectical thinking.
Natalie, we got about a minute here. Pretty shocking, ma'am. Your thoughts, and I'll bring you back after the break.
Well, I should have added before. So all of those clips are exclusively aired for the War Room. I found all of them. This is not sloppy seconds from Fox or any of their opposition researchers. So if I look really tired for having watched all that to clip that, I apologize. But no, this is them admitting what they are. I mean, you have everything from praising the Chinese Communist Party to praising Cuba as a model. The video in which that man, I don't even know, welcoming talking about how China is a model, he's actually welcoming, the DSA was welcoming a delegation of Chinese Communist Party's officials to New York City. The Communist Party USA, obviously a distinct organization, has a long history of collaborating with the Communist Party, but this is a group that is obsessed with struggle. They view the United States, that's why they're so obsessed with Palestine. It's actually quite interesting. They view that as where the working class, white versus non-white struggle is the most at the forefront, so that is why they are so obsessed with making it. It's all they talk about. After the break, I have some even more damning quotes from these people that I want to read and really help people understand that DSA is a euphemism by orders of magnitude unknown. These people are radical, violent communists, and you can hear them in their own words.
You had nailed it. They're Marxist jihadists. They're not socialist. That's just happy talk, happy clappy. Natalie on the other side.
Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
So, Natalie, you have the destruction of the nuclear family upon which America is based. You have the destruction, overcoming the Constitution. You have outright embrace of the Chinese Communist Party as a model of how you govern the United States of America. I mean, it couldn't be more in your face. It couldn't be more over the top. And they're not shy. They're not hiding this. This is hiding in plain sight because the left-wing media at MSNBC won't talk about it. And quite frankly, you don't see the Republicans. They keep, Polly Pockets Johnson comes on, keeps bleating about socialism, and Sean Hannity's bitching and moaning every night that he's got to pay more taxes under these guys. They miss the point. What they're laying out here is going to lead to the gulag, as it has every time before. And these young people right here on that side, they're highly dedicated to an overthrow. They call it the Democratic Socialist Republic of America. They are very focused on the overthrow of this nation, ma'am.
Well, I think you got to look at the sort of, elite party structure versus grassroots. It's almost inverse to what the Republican Party has. Our grassroots, our radicals are better than our establishment. Their radicals, their elites, or their, activist types are literally communist revolutionaries that maybe will say they don't want to kill you, but they're also totally okay to tell you that they want to rip you from limb to limb just because you're a straight white man. DSA in and of itself has followed a very interesting trajectory. Back in the 90s, I guess like most things that get wrapped up in socialism or communism, it always ends up in communism. But it was a bunch of late 60s professor types, right, who were talking about this stuff very abstractly. And you've seen a lot of kind of whistleblowers from within even say, what's going on here? Now the average age, especially post 2010, post Bernie, is really under 40. I think it hovered around the average age was 33 in the kind of Bernie wave. So that's why these people are a lot more radical. It's fundamentally distinct from what DSA originally was. And I want to read you some of their quotes. I think on the right, there's been a really poor effort to understand who these people are. Just because you see the word socialist, it doesn't automatically mean they're bad. Yes, it means they're bad, but socialism is the hood, it's the mask. You dig under, you find stuff that's much worse. I want to start with their geopolitical takes because I think this is quite telling. in the reference to China, a Metro Detroit DSA member says, quote, in the new Cold War, China is plainly the preferable option. A current National Political Committee, so that's one of their leadership body members, Ahmed Hussein, speaking about a Hamas leader after he was killed, says, congratulations on your martyrdom, O Abu Ibrahim. Andrew Thompson, a current NPC steering committee member, says, quote, Hamas are not the enemies of the Palestinian working class, but allies. The Ahmed Hussein, an NPC member, says, quote, Operation Al-Aqsa Flood, that's October 7th, manifested as a courageous break from a concentration camp. Now, bringing that to the United States, which Steve, the takeaway from that is it is by any means necessary. And I know Black Lives Matter used to say that, but this is a lot more militant, a lot more worse, because these people are a lot angrier, and it's not just about defunding the police, right? These people want to defund the police, prosecute, torture, and terrorize the police, and then replace them with a Stasi that's going to lock you up because, frankly, just because you're white, but more to the point, because you don't agree with them. A current DSA NPC member, so one of their leaders, says, quote, United States empire needs to genuinely be resisted from within. Ahmed Hussein, again, the same NPC member, you cannot cure empire of bloodlust, you can only kill it. Mira Wood, DSA International Committee leader, glad we agree America, spelled with 3 Ks, should be destroyed, one great and necessary project for humanity. Sydney White, current DSA National Political Committee member, if we want to actually decline the American empire, I think we're going to have to do it here. The Marxist Unity Group, which is a DSA faction, one of the more radical ones, quote, the right to expropriate property for the public good without compensation for the private owner. That is one of their listed platform goals. The Marxist-Leninist Maoist caucus in DSA, one of their guiding principles is, quote, victory is not given, it is wrenched from the enemy by force. And just remember, their definition of enemy, it's not just the billionaires, it's the people that watch this show and the billionaires. Hazel Williams, current NPC member, quote, seize the machinery of the state, smash it all together, and usher in a new social order. 2 more NPC members, Ahmed Hussein and Francesca Maria, quote, build DSA into a vehicle capable of activating revolutionary consciousness and stealing the working class for a lifetime of struggle. The Marxist Unity Group, so that's again a DSA faction, but there are current national leaders who are coming from this group. Their platform, quote, we stand for the right of the working class to take power by any means necessary, and quote, we will need armed self-defense. Amy Wilhelm, a current NPC member, quote, it's going to take revolution to get us there. Abdullah Farouk, a current NPC member, quote, retain a clear commitment to ending capitalism in the long haul while enabling tactical flexibility in the short term. Megan Romer, the DSA national co-chair, this is essentially their leader, who did a recent interview with The New Yorker. If you want to watch a dumb person who has scary ideas, highly recommend watching it. It's ridiculous. Quote, moving us closer to stateless, classless, moneyless society. Ashik Sadiq, current national DSA co-chair, quote, seizing state power, kicking capitalists out of office. Reform and Revolution, it's one of the DSA caucuses, quote, a revolution to smash the capitalist state and build a worker state is what they want. Another DSA National Political Education Committee leader, quote, yes, we do want capitalism to end. The YDSA labor strategy, quote, mass entry of socialist cadre into teaching, nursing, and logistics. Michaela Brannigan, DSA Political Education Co-Chair. They want to abolish ICE, defund the Department of War, quote, should be a minimum. Their broader strategy, quote, the border cannot be fully abolished while capitalism remains. The DSA National Prison Abolition Working Group, quote, cutting budgets annually towards zero, freedom for all incarcerated people. Yes, all. Sarah Milner, current NPC member. For a socialist revolution in the U.S. to win, we need to overthrow white supremacy, imperialism, and our undemocratic political system simultaneously. National DSA Convention Resolution 26, preparing the organization for a national uprising against federal agents and police. Philadelphia DSA co-chair, quote, we actively undermine the state's monopoly on violence. And last but certainly not least, DSA and current NPC member, quote, someone please burn a police precinct.
I mean, this is what you've seen in Portland. I mean, we've tolerated this far too long. This is all about unrestricted warfare, the political warfare, the economic warfare, the political psychological warfare, the cultural warfare, all of it. Hang on for 1 second, Natalie. As those quotes sink in to the audience, I want to go back and play this about the United States Constitution. Let's play it one more time on this.
Goal. So the two things that we're famous for is our commitment to a program and our hatred of the United States Constitution. And what the program does is it gives us a roadmap to revolution, and it gives us the obstacle that we finally will have to get over to have a revolution, which is the United States Constitution, the basis of the United States government. And what the minimum maximum program specifically, what that format specifically gives us is that roadmap. It gives us the minimum circumstances under which we would be able to take power and govern. And it gives us the maximum program, which is the goals that we're actually aiming for. It also clarifies democracy as both the end goal and as part of the process to get there, ensures the internal party democracy that we want to see in DSA. So it really wraps up the revolutionary tradition of democracy that I think socialism and abolitionism in the United States have always been a part of, and aims it, at a future that we can live in as a human species. Because I think absent a revolutionary democratic socialist republic in North America, we may not have a livable future.
The Democratic Socialist Republic of North America. Natalie, why are we not kicking down doors there? This is pure sedition. Why are state level folks, city level folks, and in the federal government? And this is why I say we don't need to go to Tehran to see how they're taking over this country. Okay? That's a deal for the Middle East. They're taking over the country internally in our biggest and greatest cities. Natalie Winters.
I know. I mean, if the standard is that just because the regime says death to America, they get invaded and bombarded with virtually all of our Tomahawk capabilities, then I guess DSA headquarters should probably look out, because I think everything that I just quoted and that we just listened to is far worse than that. I mean, I feel like, Steve, we've been saying this since before the election. The main strapline of the DNC was death to America. All of these people, and I always like to give names and make people famous. That man right there, I don't want to misgender, but is Cliff Connolly. He's a member of the DSA's National Political Committee. He's speaking in June 2025 there, talking about the kind of different factions within DSA. He represents, obviously, the more radical one. But Steve, the reason why we haven't done anything, well, one, as much as we have a communism problem, we also have a Republican Party problem, which is none of these people do anything. They just go on Fox. They like to tweet about stuff. I mean, I really have an issue with, to get on addiction level, with the Republican Party for two main reasons and syntax. One is the pronouns they use. They always say they. They never give us names. They never actually call out people. They never actually investigate people. They just send strongly worded letters and don't do anything to make actual individuals' people's lives hell, which is what they did to you, right? Their side is so good at singling out people like you who are effective. The other thing is that they always use the past tense, or they use the passive voice, because they write strongly worded letters where they do nothing about it. They're just, oh, we're exposing this to our constituents. Now, they don't tell you that they secretly have a CCP intern in the office that's the one who's fielding your phone calls, but they act as if they have no power to do anything, right? All of these people, I mean, frankly, should be rolled up, should be investigated, because you will find foreign financing that they didn't register with FARA for, I can guarantee you. The DSA itself collaborates extensively, not just with the Chinese Communist Party, but Brazil, Germany. They're doing all these weird sponsored conferences, stuff like that. The Communist Party USA, just about 2 months ago, is literally sending delegates over there to be trained by the CCP's international department to learn about Maoist thought, to come back. Literally, one of the guys that went started pumping pro-China talking points into the AFL-CIO, saying that we should support Chinese labor, and if not, we're being racist, literally verbatim from the Chinese Communist Party. But I mean, Steve, it's so frustrating. Also, I mean, these videos, these quotes, these are stuff that I dug up myself. I'm not looking for credit here, but Mike Johnson wants to go on Fox, and his big line is that his staffer came up with this quote, "The barbarians are inside the gate." Well, I don't know, Mike Johnson. You have power to do something about it. I don't. So do something about it. Investigate these people. Make their lives living hell. Make it hard for them to organize, right? Our side was literally shut down because we raised extremely valid questions about mandated COVID vaccines. They destroyed the show. They tried to. They put you in prison. Have these people's lives gotten even 0.001% demonstrably worse? I would actually argue it's gotten better. Their membership has only grown. They've seen literally no ramifications for explicitly calling for overthrow of the United States government. They're going to call us authoritarians anyway, right? They're going to say we're dictators. So maybe we should act like it if that means we can actually, I don't know,
Let's show it to 'em.
preserve
Yeah.
the country that is the
Yes.
United States.
If they're gonna give you a little, if they're gonna call you a fascist anyway and say, "Oh, these people are fascists,"
Do
hey, let's punch them in the face and haul them off to prison. This is what has to happen. Right now, we're playing patty cake. Cut off the funny. Mike Johnson, what you could do is not be so gutless as to be on Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden's spending. This is what the CR cut the hundreds of billions of dollars that we're sending out that underwrites all this. Between the Chinese Communist Party, outside money coming from foreigners, and what the U.S. government taxpayers are giving because we're too gutless to fight this in the halls of Congress in an appropriations bill, this is why you have this revolution in the United States trying to turn it into the Democratic Socialist Republic of North America. In their words, not ours.
Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
It's not socialist. It's not socialism. And it ain't just about your taxes getting raised. Host over at Fox News. This is a revolution coming for us, a Marxist jihadist revolution. We've been talking about this for years and pointing the way. Now it's time to actually step up and take it down before it overwhelms the country. Let's get to the jihadist part. You've got a mind-blowing story up on your Substack about the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, ma'am. What is it?
I promise I'm not just a demoralization op here on the war room. I try to bring good news here too. But this story is pretty wild. I'll read the headline. It sums it up quite nicely. Pennsylvania awards $5 million to terrorist-linked Islamic school working to, quote, impose Islam on the world that called America, quote, toxic. If we can put the picture up, that's the article, but of the outside. No, Steve, that's not Tehran. That's not Saudi Arabia. That's not Gaza. That's not wherever. That's in Philadelphia. That is the Al-Aqsa School. They received $5 million taxpayer dollars to expand the school portion of their Islamic center, which of course includes a mosque. They say right now their student capacity is 300. It will be able to accommodate 3,000 students. Frankly, I think that is the buried lead of the entire piece, 300 to 3,000. But you can see how radical this institution is just by looking at some of, their documents that they parade around. They distributed a pamphlet to parents called, quote, "Our culture is toxic to Muslims." That's a direct quote. Where they say the West, American culture, quote, "how to dress, talk, deal with the opposite sex is wrong, is not properly in line with Islam," which I guess is true. I am not wearing my niqab at the moment. They teach, quote, "an Islamic worldview." They instruct their students to, quote, "carry the message of Islam to his fellow Americans," loving the pronoun there, and build, quote, "effective Muslim leaders that establish a community of leaders that follow the Quran and the Sunnah." Also, interestingly, they teach the fiqh, which is the kind of human flesh interpretation of Sharia law. So yes, Pennsylvania, your tax dollars are funding the implementation of Sharia law teachings at a rather ugly, I don't know if you guys put up the rendering, the new thing, it looks like a futuristic spaceship. That's what they're doing there. It's going to be 70,000 square feet. And Steve, I of course saved the best part for last. It's kind of a cheap shot, to be frank, with all of this Muslim reporting saying, oh, this is terrorist linked. This is terrorist linked. For example, yesterday I put up a tweet thread about how El Sayed's mom was doing wire transfers for a group that was later sanctioned by the DOJ, not just for laundering money into Iraq, but for supporting terrorism. That's sort of par for the course. But in this case, this mosque actually was home. It was attended by the people behind the Fort Dix shooting, that plot. not just attended, but they actually were doing free roofing on the existing building. So how about that? The mosque that your tax dollars are now funding, it was previously built by convicted terrorists who are trying to make more Americans, 300 to 3,000, into Islamists that follow Sharia law. Well, forget that. They don't need terrorist labor pro bono anymore. Now they have your tax dollars to build a ultimately 70,000 square foot center in Philadelphia. Like I said, that picture that I showed you, that's not the Middle East. That is a street corner in good old Philly.
Unreal. Natalie, your Substack is lit, as we say. Where do people go to subscribe right now to get all this as it comes hot off the press?
Well, I always appreciate when you say it makes your heads blow up. I think that's maybe a more fitting comparison for this story. But you can find the Substack. It's free. Just subscribe. You can get it straight to your inbox. Comment, chat with people. It's great. NatalieGWinters.substack.com. Or my X is where I'm posting a lot of these clips. Like I said, Steve, they're all exclusive to the War Room. We can see the enemy for what it is. That's Natalie G. Winters there. As always, thank you so much for having me on and letting me help do my part to expose these evil people for what they are.
I want to connect this to all the years you've been doing the investigative reporting and research about the Chinese Communist Party and the kind of united front and the kowtowing of American industry, cultural institutions, particularly universities, and the halls of Congress to really outreach by the Chinese Communist Party and kowtowing to the Chinese Communist Party, calling what we call running dogs. That is what's laid the groundwork for the revolution that is in front of us. Is there any doubt in your mind about that, ma'am?
Well, it's multifactorial. One, it is the opening of the gates to communism, saying it's okay. But I think the bigger impetus, right, which I think the War Room has been about for a long time, it's what you and the Trump Revolution was behind, is the kind of second order effect, right, of taking the prescriptives of these united front groups of the Chinese Communist Party, outsourcing manufacturing, destroying industry, basically making our working class a laughingstock that our elites just don't listen to because they don't care. That's how you give, to use a phrase, bread and butter to the DSA, right? They were able to rise because our working class doesn't have a voice. So there's so many compounding factors. But Steve, also too, the more investigative reporter hat, tracking the flows, the money, the individuals. How I do most of my reporting is searching by keywords and looking at deleted pages and pulling PDFs and a little bit of weaponized autism. But you can see all this stuff and see that's how you know what's going on here. It's pattern recognition, right? This is not just some people who on the weekends they is their wine mom hobby. They're like looking into socialism. These are people whose full-time job is literally pumping people into unions as teachers into every corner of America to become sites of revolution, right? Their word, not mine. They're not like tabling like a Girl Scout about how awesome socialism is. They are laying the groundwork for revolution. And like we would always joke, oh, they'll shred the Constitution. They'll shred the Declaration of Independence. They don't care about it. Well, now that's not really a joke or a metaphor or an idiom anymore, an aphorism. That's their words verbatim.
Yeah. Natalie, one more time, the Substack, where do they go?
NatalieGWinters.substack.com and Natalie G. Winters on X. Thank you, Steve, for being the only show that actually addresses this stuff in a real way. Your leadership.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you. And you're not going to beat this with the big, beautiful bill. It's one part of an economic program, but you can't rely upon it. You must strike at the heart of this. You must strike at the heart of this. I want to thank our sponsors, particularly Home Title Lock, HomeTitleLock.com, promo code Steve. Get a free history report and a 14-day free $1 million triple lock protection so you can see how the system works. Check it out. Talk to Natalie Dominguez and the team today. Don't let anybody get access to your title and monetize it. You're the only one supposed to monetize. HomeTitleLock.com, promo code Steve. Check it out today. Charlie Kirk Show, Poso after that. Gruber Bowling back at 5 to 7 tonight on fire.